The Galactic Council had never been so alarmed. Representatives from the most powerful species in the universe gathered in a massive chamber, surrounded by screens filled with live data. Their mission was clear: discuss the growing concerns about a new species that had been making waves in the galaxy. That species was humanity. For centuries, the Council had kept an eye on Earth, but it had always seemed like just another young, insignificant planet. It was a place where intelligent life existed, but not one that held any real threat to the established order of the galaxy. Or so they thought. The first signs of trouble appeared just a few decades ago, when humanity had suddenly accelerated in technology. The species, once primitive and struggling, now had advanced space technology that rivaled some of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. It was an unsettling development. And then, reports started flooding in from galactic explorers who had ventured near the Milky Way. The humans were unpredictable. They didn't follow the same rules as other species. The galaxy's most dangerous species were usually driven by logic, reason, and a sense of order. But humanity was different. They were emotional, impulsive, and quick to adapt. No one could predict what they would do next, and that, the Council feared, made them incredibly dangerous. The leader of the Galactic Council, a towering creature known as Psylocke, spoke first. His voice echoed through the chamber, a blend of authority and worry. We cannot ignore the threat any longer. We have watched humanity closely, and what we see is a species on the brink of something far beyond their capabilities. They are rapidly developing weapons of unimaginable power, and their unpredictable nature makes them a threat to galactic peace. Around the table, representatives from various species shifted uncomfortably. Zorath, the representative from the intelligent, peaceful Tellurians, spoke up. Perhaps we are overreacting. Humanity has always been chaotic, but chaos does not equate to danger. Maybe we should wait and see. After all, they are not even close to matching our strength. Psylocke's gaze sharpened, his eyes glowing with an inner fire. You fail to understand, Zorath. It's not just about their strength, it's about their potential. Their technology has advanced too quickly, and their unpredictability makes them impossible to control. What if they learn to harness power we have not yet understood? What if their emotional instability leads them to use that power recklessly? We cannot risk their unchecked rise. A murmur rippled through the room. The aliens had been living in peace for so long that the very idea of a new species disrupting that peace was terrifying. But what terrified them more was that no one could predict humanity's next move. A new report had just come in, confirming their worst fears. A secret group of humans had unlocked an energy source unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, an energy that could alter the fabric of reality itself. The room fell silent as the data was displayed. The energy was pure, raw, and unpredictable. No species had ever tapped into such power, and no one knew what would happen if humanity learned to control it. But there was one certainty. If they could master this energy, the galaxy's delicate balance would be shattered. Psylocke's voice cut through the silence. We can no longer afford to wait. We must act now, before humanity's unpredictable nature leads them down a path that could endanger us all. The Tellurians, who had always been advocates for peace, were now more unsure than ever. How can we justify attacking them? Zorath asked, his voice full of hesitation. We don't even know what they're capable of. Maybe they're not a threat after all. The council was split. Half believed that humanity should be monitored from a distance, with their every move carefully tracked. The other half, led by Psylocke, believed that immediate action was necessary. They needed to neutralize the threat before humanity had a chance to fully understand the power they were toying with. We cannot afford another misstep, Psylocke declared, his voice like thunder. If humanity is allowed to grow unchecked, they will become a force that no one can control. We must act swiftly and with force. As the discussion continued, the tension in the room grew. Representatives from the Euthalians, a race of beings made of pure energy, suggested a diplomatic approach, Perhaps humanity could be reasoned with. But that idea was quickly dismissed by others. They had seen too many races fall to chaos when they tried to approach dangerous species with diplomacy. The galaxy had its rules, and those rules could not be ignored, especially not when the stakes were so high. Xylok's final decision was clear. He turned to his closest advisor, a sharp-eyed alien known as Vessar. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered. "It's time we make our move. Humanity will not be allowed to rise any further. We'll show them what happens when they defy the balance of the universe." As Vessar bowed and left the chamber to carry out the orders, the room fell into a deep silence. The fate of humanity was now in the hands of the galaxy's most powerful and feared species. They would not be the first to attack, but they would make sure that the humans knew their place in the Grand Order. Unbeknownst to the Council, humanity was already preparing for its own awakening. While the galaxy's most powerful races feared what humanity might become, they had underestimated the one thing that made Earth different: humanity's unyielding determination and will to survive, no matter the cost. The Council's move would set the stage for a conflict no one could predict, and Earth's greatest strength would soon reveal itself. The massive fleet of the Galactic Council slowly descended toward Earth. It was a sight that struck fear into the hearts of many species across the galaxy. The Council's warships were vast, their hulls designed to withstand the harshest environments, their weapons powerful enough to obliterate entire planets. The Council had sent a clear message. Humanity had caught their attention, and the galaxy's most dangerous species were about to make their move. On Earth, things seemed normal. People went about their daily lives, oblivious to the impending threat that was headed straight for them. Governments were aware of the Council's reputation, but the general population had no idea of the danger that loomed. Humanity had barely begun to scratch the surface of its newfound potential, but the beings in the galaxy already saw Earth as a growing threat. In a secret underground facility in a remote part of the world, Dr. Carol Williams, a scientist working on a project that had unknowingly triggered the Galactic Council's alarm, was the first to realize the true scale of what was happening. She had been studying the mysterious energy source humans had accidentally uncovered, unaware that it would soon lead the galaxy's most powerful forces to Earth. Dr. Williams had already detected unusual shifts in the energy signature, but nothing could have prepared her for what was coming. She sat in front of a screen, her fingers hovering over the keyboard, trying to make sense of the data. The readings were off the charts. The energy humanity had tapped into was beginning to form patterns that were unlike anything she had ever seen. And then she saw it, something she had not noticed before. The energy was not just growing stronger, it was connecting. Something was awakening, and it wasn't just the humans. Her heart raced. "Oh no," she whispered to herself. The energy was reaching out into the cosmos, calling to something. The energy humanity had unlocked had a much deeper purpose than anyone could have guessed. It was not just a weapon, it was a signal. A signal that had reached the Galactic Council, warning them of Earth's new power. The implications of this discovery were terrifying. Dr. Williams quickly sent a coded message to her colleagues, warning them of the sudden surge in the energy readings. She knew that this discovery could change everything, but she had no idea just how quickly things would escalate. Far above Earth, the Council's fleet was preparing for landing. The first wave of ships, massive battle cruisers, approached Earth's atmosphere. A powerful beam of energy fired from one of the lead ships, sending a shockwave across the planet's surface. It was a warning shot, meant to show the humans their power. The first wave was meant to intimidate, but as the ships descended closer to Earth, something unexpected happened. Humanity's response was unlike any the Council had seen before. Across the planet, strange phenomena began to occur. The atmosphere shimmered with an unnatural glow, and massive storms formed in places that had never experienced such conditions. Electrical surges rippled through cities, and power grids flickered on and off in a chaotic pattern. The people of Earth, who had no idea of the fleet's arrival, suddenly found themselves caught in a wave of strange energy. The Council's fleet commanders watched in disbelief as their ships were pulled into the planet's strange energy field. It was as though the very air around Earth was alive, reacting to the intrusion. The ships struggled to maintain control as the energy warped their systems, causing them to veer off course. "This isn't supposed to happen," said Captain Vrex, leader of the Council's fleet. He had led countless campaigns across the galaxy, but nothing had prepared him for this. "We're being pulled in. Something on the planet is interfering with our ships." His ship's systems flashed in warning. The fleet's advanced shields were malfunctioning, and the crew was struggling to regain control. The energy from Earth was too powerful, too chaotic, and it was growing stronger by the minute. Vrex's mind raced. How could such a primitive species wield such power? The Council's fleet had not expected this level of resistance. The advanced species that had gathered in the Galactic Council had always relied on their superior technology and experience, but humanity's raw power was unlike anything they had encountered before. They had underestimated Earth, thinking it was just another young species to be subdued. But now, they were facing something far more dangerous than they had imagined. As the first wave of ships struggled with Earth's energy, the planet below them began to shake. The strange energy that had been dormant for so long now surged to the surface, as though it had been waiting for the moment to reveal itself. The skies crackled with lightning, and the ground trembled beneath the feet of every living creature. In Earth's largest cities, chaos erupted as people looked to the skies, seeing the massive fleet above them. The first wave of ships began to hover in place, their thrusters firing up in an attempt to stabilize. But it was clear that they were no longer in control. Dr. Williams and her team, working in the underground facility, saw the entire planet react to the fleet's arrival. The energy was not just a weapon. It was a force of nature, and it was as though Earth itself was defending its inhabitants from the alien invaders. The humans had unwittingly triggered a defense mechanism far beyond their comprehension. The very essence of Earth was pushing back against the intruders. The Council had come expecting to intimidate and control. Instead, they were being confronted by an unknown power that seemed to be responding to their every move. This wasn't the Earth they had studied from a distance. This was something far more complex, and as the energy continued to grow, they realized that humanity's potential was far greater than they could ever have imagined. The Galactic Council's fleet was now fully engaged in the struggle for control. What was supposed to be a simple mission of subjugation had quickly turned into a nightmare. The fleet had been thrown into chaos by Earth's mysterious energy, and as each ship tried to recalibrate, the planet's defenses grew stronger. The once controlled invasion was now a fight for survival. Captain Vrex gripped the command console, trying to keep his ship from spiraling out of control. "This is impossible," Vrex muttered. He had led countless campaigns, but nothing like this. The fleet, even with its superior technology, was now struggling against an invisible, yet overwhelming force. Earth's energy field was proving to be far more powerful than the Council had ever expected. It was as though the very planet had awakened, pushing back against the invaders with a force unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Vrex's ship was no longer able to maintain its position. It was being pushed back by the energy's force, slowly drifting away from the planet. The captain's mind raced, trying to make sense of it all. Humanity was not just a primitive species. They had something that no other civilization in the galaxy had: the power of their planet itself. Back on Earth, people were starting to notice. Across the world, in cities and towns, strange things were happening. People had seen the strange lights in the sky, the sudden electrical surges, and the massive storms that had appeared out of nowhere. But no one truly understood what was happening. Governments scrambled to respond, but they were equally in the dark. They had no idea that the power of the planet was reacting to the alien presence above them. Dr. Kara Williams was watching the unfolding events from her underground lab. The energy she had been studying was no longer just a scientific curiosity. It was a global event, and humanity was at its center. She knew this wasn't just an accident. Earth's energy source was reacting to the alien fleet in ways that no one had predicted. She had uncovered a truth that no one had ever suspected. Humanity was tied to something far greater than itself. The planet was alive, and it was protecting its people. She sat at her console, analyzing the data. The energy was no longer just a static signal. It was in constant flux, as if it were learning and adapting. It was as though Earth's defenses were evolving in real time, specifically to counteract the threat posed by the alien ships. And with each passing second, the energy was getting stronger. "Is this possible?" Dr. Williams whispered, her hands trembling over the keyboard. She had never imagined that the energy could be more than just a power source. It seemed to be a living, breathing entity in its own right. But now, as she looked at the data, it was clear. Humanity wasn't just connected to the energy. The planet itself had recognized the alien threat and was reacting as if it were its duty to defend Earth. As the energy grew stronger, the storms on Earth intensified. Entire cities were bathed in electrical light, and the sky above them crackled with unnatural lightning. The ground shook violently, as if the planet itself was fighting back. The fleet above Earth was starting to experience significant damage. The energy fields surrounding their ships were warping, distorting their shields, and causing massive malfunctions. Their weapon systems couldn't target Earth's defenses properly, and their communication systems began to fail. The Council's fleet was now in full retreat, unable to make sense of the chaos around them. Captain Frex's ship was no exception. He stared at the flickering console in front of him, his crew scrambling to maintain control. "We're losing power," he said, his voice grim. "This is not a weapon we can fight. It's a force of nature." The first wave of ships had been pushed back, and the second wave was beginning to arrive. But they, too, were unprepared for the planet's strange power. The energy continued to surge, spreading across Earth like a wildfire, growing stronger with every passing moment. The fleet commanders were at a loss. They had underestimated Earth's defenses, assuming that the humans were merely a young, primitive species. But the truth was now painfully clear. Humanity had something the galaxy had never seen before, a connection to its planet that went far deeper than any of them could comprehend. Back on Earth, the situation was escalating. Humanity was beginning to realize that the strange events weren't just coincidences. They were part of something much larger. As the energy continued to grow, more people began to notice the strange occurrences around them. Governments scrambled to figure out what was happening, but the truth was that they were just as clueless as everyone else. Dr. Williams continued her work, tracking the patterns of the energy surges. She had to find a way to communicate with the energy. Perhaps there was a way to control it, or at least understand it. But she knew that time was running out. The Council would not back down. They were determined to destroy what they saw as a threat, and humanity had no way of knowing if the energy would be enough to keep them safe. As the days passed, the tension on Earth grew. The storm clouds gathered, and the strange electrical phenomena continued to increase. The world was in chaos, and humanity was struggling to hold on. But through it all, one thing was clear: the planet was fighting back. Earth's energy was not just a defense, it was a warning. The galaxy's most powerful species had underestimated humanity, and now the Council was about to learn the hard way just how dangerous humanity could be when it had the planet itself on its side. What had started as a simple mission to neutralize a primitive species had quickly become a fight for survival, for both humanity and the invaders who had underestimated them. The Council's worst fears were just beginning to come true. Earth was not just a planet. It was a force to be reckoned with, and humanity was about to show the galaxy what they could do when pushed to the brink. The situation on Earth was deteriorating rapidly. The Council's fleet, which had once hovered over the planet with ease, was now struggling to maintain its presence in the sky. The mysterious energy emanating from Earth continued to grow stronger with each passing moment. No one, not even the most advanced species in the galaxy, could have predicted the sheer power the planet was unleashing. Humanity was caught in the middle, unaware that the very energy they had unwittingly tapped into was now the key to their survival. As the storm clouds continued to rage across the globe, cities were being hit with massive electrical surges. The strange energy seemed to target key locations, almost as if it were responding to the presence of the alien invaders. The ground trembled with each new wave of energy that burst from the planet's core, and vast storms ravaged the surface. Earth had become a battleground, and the stakes were higher than ever before. In one of the Council's flagship vessels, Captain Vrex was growing increasingly desperate. The energy from Earth was tearing through their shields, disrupting every system on his ship. His fleet was in disarray, unable to respond to the energy's unpredictable behavior. It had been clear from the beginning that humanity's potential was vast, but no one had predicted the planet itself would rise up to defend its inhabitants. "Captain, we're losing control of the fleet," said one of his officers, panic creeping into her voice. "The energy field is causing total system failures. We can't even communicate with the other ships." Vrex slammed his fist onto the control panel. He had been in countless battles, but nothing like this. "I don't care about communication. We need to pull back. Earth is not just a primitive world. We've been foolish to underestimate it." His voice echoed through the command center as he turned to face the view screen. Earth, once a simple planet among millions, was now a force of nature, a force he could no longer control. Every attempt to counteract the energy was met with failure. The more the fleet tried to fight back, the stronger the energy became. The alien fleet was in chaos. Captain Vrex's ship was pulled further from Earth's atmosphere by the sheer force of the planet's energy. The other ships in the fleet, too, were being pushed back. The situation was dire. The Council's mighty fleet had been reduced to a mere fraction of its original power, unable to defend itself against an invisible, yet overwhelming force. As the fleet was forced to retreat, Earth's energy continued to surge. The strange phenomenon had now spread to every corner of the planet, as if the energy had become one with the Earth itself. Even the most advanced species in the galaxy had underestimated the planet's defenses, not understanding that the energy was tied to the very core of the world. It wasn't just a defense mechanism. It was a living, breathing force that had been lying dormant, waiting for the moment when it would awaken. On Earth, humanity was beginning to sense that something extraordinary was happening. People could feel the strange energy in the air, but no one knew what it meant. Scientists like Dr. Kara Williams were working tirelessly to understand the energy's origin, but even they could not fully grasp the magnitude of the situation. Dr. Williams had always believed that the energy was just an anomaly, something humans had accidentally stumbled upon. But now she saw the truth. The energy wasn't just something to be studied. It was a vital part of Earth's existence. It was the planet's way of defending itself, and it was tied to humanity's survival. As the energy continued to spread, the storms above Earth grew more violent. Lightning crackled across the sky in waves, and massive tornadoes tore through the landscape. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was something else, something far more profound. The energy, once chaotic and unpredictable, now seemed to be focused. It was as if the planet itself had found a rhythm, responding to the alien invaders as though it had a consciousness of its own. Dr. Williams watched in awe as the energy patterns began to stabilize. The chaos had turned into a powerful, controlled force. The planet was no longer reacting randomly. It was fighting back with purpose. The energy that had once seemed like a threat to humanity was now their greatest ally. Meanwhile, in the skies above, Captain Vrex's fleet was nearing the edge of Earth's atmosphere. The retreat had become a chaotic mess, with ships veering off course and struggling to maintain their balance. The once mighty Council fleet had been reduced to a disorganized group of vessels trying to flee from an unstoppable force. The ships had been pushed back by Earth's energy, and now they were on the brink of disaster. "Prepare for full retreat," Captain Vrex ordered, his voice filled with frustration and fear. "We cannot win this battle. We've underestimated Earth's power." But it was already too late. Earth had made its move. The energy was no longer just a defensive measure, it was an offensive one. As the fleet tried to escape, massive surges of energy erupted from the planet's surface, sending shockwaves through space. The fleet was thrown off course, and the ships struggled to maintain their integrity against the blasts of energy that seemed to come from all directions. One by one, the ships began to fall, their shields unable to withstand the intense power of the energy. It was as though the planet was striking back, no longer willing to let the Council's fleet retreat. Earth was no longer just a simple world. It had become a force to be reckoned with, a power that no other species in the galaxy had seen before. Captain Vrex watched in disbelief as his flagship was struck by a massive surge of energy. The ship's systems failed, and alarms blared as the vessel was pushed further from Earth's atmosphere. The fleet was in full retreat, but the damage had been done. Earth had proven itself to be far more powerful than the Galactic Council had ever anticipated. As the fleet scattered and flowed into the depths of space, Captain Vrex realized the truth. Humanity had not just survived. It had triumphed. Earth had defended itself, not just with its people, but with a power that no one could have foreseen. The Council had come to Earth expecting to subdue a primitive species, but instead, they had discovered that Earth was not just another planet. It was a force in its own right, a living, breathing entity with power beyond imagination. And humanity, for the first time, realized they were no longer just survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with. The galaxy had underestimated them, but the truth had been revealed. Humanity was not the weakest species in the universe. It was, in fact, the most dangerous. The retreat of the Galactic Council's fleet was no longer a controlled strategic maneuver. It had become a desperate scramble for survival. Captain Vrex's flagship, along with the rest of the fleet, was battered and on the brink of destruction. The unrelenting energy from Earth had broken their systems, causing them to lose their coordinated attack. No matter how advanced their technology was, it was no match for the planet's power. Vrex, once a confident and formidable leader, now felt helpless. His ship had sustained heavy damage, its shields nearly gone, and its weapons systems malfunctioning. The rest of the fleet was scattered, some ships limping away while others were outright destroyed by the violent energy bursts. "We can't outrun it. The energy is following us through space," Vrex growled, staring at the monitors, which showed the fleet's systems collapsing one by one. His officers worked feverishly, trying to fix the damage. But it was clear that no amount of technological superiority could stand against what they were up against. The energy had somehow latched onto them, refusing to let go. The Council's fleet had never faced such a thing. In their previous conquests, they had crushed entire civilizations with ease, but Earth was different. They had underestimated humanity and the true power of the planet. The moment Earth's energy surged to defend itself, the invaders found themselves outmatched in ways they couldn't fathom. Far below, on Earth's surface, people were still struggling to comprehend the magnitude of the events unfolding above them. Governments were scrambling to put together a response, but nothing could prepare them for the reality they now faced. Earth was fighting back against the alien invaders on its own, and no one fully understood how or why. Dr. Kara Williams had uncovered part of the truth, but the full extent of the energy's capabilities was still a mystery. In the midst of this chaos, the people of Earth began to notice something that had never been seen before. The storms and electrical surges weren't just destructive, they were also a form of communication. Patterns began to emerge within the chaos, a strange rhythm to the bursts of energy. It was as if the planet was speaking to them, guiding humanity toward a greater understanding of the force they had unknowingly awakened. Dr. Williams was at the heart of this discovery. In her lab, she pored over the data, her eyes widening as the energy patterns began to form a clear, logical structure. It wasn't random. It was an intelligent, controlled force, responding to the invaders with purpose. She was the first to realize that the planet itself was using its energy as a weapon, and it was directly tied to humanity's survival. "We need to find a way to harness it," Dr. Williams whispered to herself, as she connected the dots in her mind. The energy wasn't just protecting Earth. It was adapting, learning, and evolving. It wasn't bound by any conventional laws of physics. This was something beyond their understanding, but it was clear now. Humanity's survival wasn't just about their resistance. It was about the planet's fight for its people. As the Council's fleet was pushed further back into space, the energy from Earth continued to grow stronger. The power surges were no longer limited to Earth's atmosphere. They were reaching into space, pushing the alien ships farther and farther away from the planet. The Council's ships tried to make repairs, but every time they did, another surge of energy would hit them, weakening them further. The Council had no way of knowing what was causing this. Their best scientists and military strategists had all failed to predict what Earth was capable of. The idea that a planet could fight back like this, let alone protect its inhabitants, was beyond their comprehension. They had thought of humanity as just another primitive species to conquer, but now they were facing a much greater threat than they ever expected. For the first time, the invaders began to fear Earth. They had arrived thinking that humanity was weak and defenseless, that the planet was ripe for the taking. But now, they were learning that the Earth was anything but helpless. It was a living, breathing entity, capable of defending itself in ways they couldn't even imagine. Captain Vrex, now deeply frustrated, watched as his flagship continued to spiral out of control. He had never been in a situation like this before. He had seen his enemies fall before, but this was unlike anything he had ever faced. The energy was relentless, unpredictable, and terrifying. And there was no escape. The galaxy's most dangerous species, Vrex muttered to himself, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. It was never us. It was them. As the last of the fleet made its retreat, Earth's energy continued to surge, pushing the invaders farther and farther away. The alien ships were no match for the planet's defenses, and as they fled into the depths of space, it was clear that they would never return. Earth had fought back, and humanity had survived. Back on Earth, the storm clouds began to dissipate, and the energy that had so violently defended the planet began to fade. The power was still there, but it had calmed, as if the planet had finished its battle. The people of Earth had no idea what had truly happened above them, but one thing was certain: they had been protected by something far greater than themselves. Humanity had won. They had not just survived the invasion, they had proven to the galaxy that they were a force to be reckoned with. And the rest of the universe would learn that Earth was not a planet to be conquered. It was a planet that could fight back, fiercely and without mercy. The Council had learned the hard way. Earth was not just a target. It was a living, breathing force that would protect its people at any cost. And humanity, though still unaware of the full extent of their planet's power, had just taken its first step into a much larger, much more dangerous galaxy. As the last of the Council's fleet retreated into the dark void of space, the Earth's energy began to calm, though it was far from extinguished. Captain Vrex, now distant from the planet he had once thought would fall before him, was left with nothing but the bitter taste of defeat. His fleet had been shattered, and the terrifying truth had been laid bare. Humanity, the species he had written off as weak, had proven themselves not just capable of surviving. They had been the cause of their own salvation. The galaxy's most dangerous species wasn't the mighty, technologically advanced races of the Council. No, it was the inhabitants of Earth, humans, and their unpredictable, untapped potential. The Council had miscalculated, and they were paying the price. On Earth, humanity had already begun to grasp the significance of the events that had unfolded. The chaos had subsided, and in its wake, people were left to piece together the mystery of the energy that had defended them. What had it been? How had the planet responded to the alien invaders? Dr. Kara Williams, one of the few scientists to truly comprehend the extent of the energy, had already begun working with others to study the aftermath. But even she understood that they only knew the surface of what had happened. The energy that had protected them was still present, deep beneath the Earth's surface. The storms had passed, but the force was there, hidden, waiting. Dr. Williams theorized that Earth's energy was tied to its core, and it had awakened in response to the threat from the aliens. It was like a pulse, a heartbeat, protecting humanity when they had no other defense. The more she studied it, the more she realized that this was only the beginning. Humanity hasn't even begun to understand the full extent of the power that's lying dormant beneath our feet, Dr. Williams murmured as she looked out over the city, a thought forming in her mind. But we will. And when we do, the galaxy will understand just how wrong they were to underestimate us. Meanwhile, in space, the remnants of the Council's fleet were regrouping, though their confidence had been shattered. Vrex and his commanders were reeling from the shock of their retreat, and even their best strategists were at a loss as to how to approach the next steps. They had been taught that the universe was full of weak, primitive planets that could be easily conquered. But Earth had proven them all wrong. The Council had underestimated the humans' ability to adapt, survive, and fight back. They had thought of humanity as a species that would crumble in the face of superior technology and firepower, but they were sorely mistaken. Earth had something that no other planet had: the raw, untapped power of its core, and the resilience of its people. The Council had learned that their military strength alone was not enough to face a force as unpredictable and powerful as Earth. Back on Earth, the people had begun to rebuild. The devastation caused by the energy surges was still fresh, but it was clear now that they were not merely survivors. They were on the brink of something much greater. Humanity had a new understanding of their own power. They were no longer the underdogs. They had seen the truth. Earth was capable of defending itself, and humanity was capable of mastering the energy that had once been a mystery. Though the world was in a state of recovery, there was a sense of quiet anticipation. People across the planet were beginning to ask questions that had never been asked before. How had Earth been able to fight back so fiercely? What had been the true source of the energy? And what would happen next? Was this just the beginning of an era where humanity would be forced to defend itself from other galactic powers? Would there be more challenges on the horizon? In the days following the retreat of the Council's fleet, Earth's governments began to join forces, realizing that their survival now depended on understanding the energy and harnessing it for the future. They were no longer divided by borders or ideologies. They were united by a common goal. The planet had survived an invasion, but they knew that this would not be the last threat they would face. Dr. Williams continued her research, now with the backing of scientists and governments worldwide. The mysterious energy was no longer something to fear. It was something to be embraced, studied, and understood. Earth had become the center of a new kind of power, and humanity was determined to use it to shape their future. But even as they moved forward, there was an unsettling feeling in the air. The galaxy would not forget what had happened. The Galactic Council's defeat would echo across the stars. What would the other civilizations think of Earth now? Would they see humanity as a rising power, or as a dangerous new force to be reckoned with? In the depths of space, the alien empires had already begun to take notice of what had happened. They had watched as the Council's fleet was torn apart by an energy they couldn't understand. They knew that Earth had something they could not control, something that could turn the balance of power in the galaxy. Captain Vrex, though defeated, was not finished. He had learned the hard way that Earth was not a planet to be ignored. But now, with the Council's defeat, he was determined to learn everything about Earth and its mysterious power. The galaxy's greatest minds would work tirelessly to study the energy, and they would not make the same mistake again. Earth had made its mark, but now, the galaxy was watching. What would humanity do next? Would they be ready for what was coming? The power that had saved them once could be their greatest asset, or their greatest threat. The universe had underestimated Earth once, but that was about to change. The tension in the air on Earth was palpable. The humans had tasted victory, but they knew that their future, once secure in the thought that they had survived, was now uncertain. Their planet had just faced an invasion from a galaxy-spanning empire and had emerged victorious. But the greater question loomed. What would the galaxy's response be? What would the other galactic powers make of Earth's newfound strength? The Earth governments, for all their differences, were united in their determination to understand and control the energy that had saved them. They knew that this force, whatever it was, could either be their salvation or their downfall. Dr. Kara Williams, who had become the focal point of this global effort, stood at the forefront of humanity's race to harness the power beneath their feet. In secret labs and secure facilities around the world, scientists worked day and night, delving into the mysterious energy that had protected Earth. With every test, they uncovered more about its nature. The energy was not just powerful, it was intelligent, responsive. It seemed to adapt and grow with every attempt to understand it. At first, the energy had seemed chaotic, almost hostile, but now it was beginning to reveal patterns. It responded to human will, guided by thoughts, emotions, and even desires. The more they experimented, the clearer it became. This power was deeply connected to humanity itself, as though the planet's energy was responding to the human's instinct to survive and fight back. Dr. Williams realized that the energy was not just a defense mechanism. It was a connection, a bond between Earth and its people. It was as if Earth itself was alive and aware, protecting those who inhabited it, protecting its children. She marveled at the connection between the energy and human emotion. The way the energy intensified in moments of extreme stress, or the way it calmed when peace was restored, suggested a deeper, almost symbiotic relationship. I think the energy is a reflection of us. Dr. Williams explained to her colleagues, her eyes wide with realization. It's not just a force to be controlled. It's part of us, a living, breathing part of this planet. Her discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Humanity was now connected to the planet in ways no one had ever imagined. Earth's very core had become an extension of human will, a tool that could be shaped and controlled. The implications were enormous. If humanity could harness this power fully, they could reshape the galaxy, becoming not just survivors, but a force to be reckoned with on a cosmic scale. But as Earth began to realize the potential of the energy, the galaxy watched. The other alien civilizations, having witnessed the devastation of the Council's fleet, were now taking action. Rumors of Earth's newfound power spread across the stars like wildfire. The Council, though defeated, was far from finished. They had failed, but they were not a species that gave up easily. Their defeat had been a blow to their pride, but now they were driven by a thirst for knowledge and vengeance. Meanwhile, Captain Vrex, his pride shattered and his fleet crippled, was plotting in secret. He had lost Earth, but he had learned valuable lessons. He knew that Earth's power came from an unknown source, something tied to the planet itself. And it wasn't something he could ignore. He began assembling a team of his best scientists, military tacticians, and spies. His goal was simple: learn everything about the energy, understand its true nature, and prepare for a second confrontation. "We'll return," Vrex muttered to his officers as they sat around a holographic map of Earth. Not to conquer this time, but to control. Earth's energy is too dangerous to leave unchecked. The other galactic empires were not idle either. Some saw Earth's rise as a threat. They had long believed that the galaxy was theirs to dominate. With Earth's sudden surge in power, they feared it would disrupt the balance of power. Others, more cautious, viewed humanity's potential as a resource. They saw the energy not as a threat, but as an opportunity for alliances, an opportunity to tap into this power for themselves. What neither Vrex nor the other galactic leaders knew, however, was that humanity had only scratched the surface of what Earth's energy could do. The true extent of the power was still a mystery, and Dr. Williams' research was leading to startling discoveries. The energy was not just a weapon, it was something more. It was an ancient force that had always been with Earth, lying dormant until the right moment. The alien invasion had awakened it, but it was clear that the energy had a purpose far beyond merely repelling invaders. It was preparing for something much larger, something humanity could not yet understand. As tensions rose, Earth's governments began to prepare for a new kind of defense. The humans were no longer helpless. The energy, once only a defensive force, was now being shaped into a tool of offense. Soldiers, scientists, and civilians alike were being trained to interact with the energy, to control it, and to use it. Earth had become a battlefield for the future, not just for their survival, but for their place in the galaxy. But as Earth grew stronger, the galaxy's most dangerous species, humanity, was not yet prepared for the challenges ahead. The universe was about to witness the rise of a new power, and no one could predict how far Earth's energy would stretch, or who would be caught in its wake. The question was no longer whether humanity could defend itself. It was whether they could use the energy to dominate the stars and ensure their future among the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Would Earth become the new center of the galaxy? Would the other empires kneel before them, or would they try to crush the threat before it could rise to its full potential? Captain Vrex and the other galactic leaders had underestimated humanity, but that mistake would cost them dearly. And Earth, now aware of its incredible power, was ready to meet the challenge.